What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to JellyGoonTv. Welcome back to all my beautiful viewers and subscribers, of course. Today we have another video, but before we get to that, go down and below, check down my social media, my Discord, Instagram, Facebook, everything like that. Go over there and support it, of course. Today we have another video and we're gonna react to unconventional foods people ate in Soviet Russia. So we're gonna see what kind of food did they ate in Russia back in the days, or there's still something that sticks with it, and that's where your opinion comes in. Please comment down below what kind of food still sticks around until today. Please let me know. So without further ado, let's get into this beautiful piece of history. So yeah, let's go.
After World War II, Soviet Russia and the whole of the Soviet Union found itself under the authoritarian rule of Joseph Stalin. As the Cold War progressed, leaders such as Nikita Khrushchev and Mikhail Gorbachev brought changes to the communist stronghold, but finding enough to eat remained a problem for millions. To survive, people had to get innovative in the kitchen. This often meant resorting to unconventional foods that reflected the multiculturalism of the Soviet Union, or just making do with whatever happened to be available.
Exactly.
Today, we're going to take a look at some unconventional foods people ate to survive in Soviet Russia.
Amazing, man. It's gonna be
before
interesting.
we get started,
cheese
were made
pancakes.
from tvorog, or dry curd cheese.
Really?
And they were a staple for breakfast in the Soviet Union.
Oh.
Often cooks added fresh or dried fruit to the pancake or included some compote. Once a mixture of cheese, eggs, flour, and other items to taste was ready, it was poured into a buttered skillet and cooked until brown on one side.
Yeah.
It was then flipped and browned on the other. Shironiki could then be served with more
Nice.
fruit or with sour cream.
Nice, 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 nice.
The term cutlets once referred to cutlets of meat, but over time, the dish evolved. By the Soviet era, the term came to refer to a meal that fell somewhere between a meatball and a hamburger.
Okay.
Cutlette typically includes minced meat mixed with vegetables like cabbage, carrots, and beets. This mixture may or may not be breaded, but is always fried.
Wow, okay. So they had good taste back then. That was good. Nice.
Thought to have been invented during the 1800s, chicken Kiev has long been considered a delicacy, even during the Soviet period.
Really?
The dish featured chicken fillets with a bone sticking out of the side. The meat was filled with a butter of sorts and came to be served at restaurants throughout major cities.
Nice.
It later
Amazing,
found global attention, especially popular among tourists as they were introduced to Russian cuisine at tourist
Of
restaurants,
course.
which were sponsored by the official tourist agency of the Soviet Union. The dish, however, is not without its controversy. Both Russians and Ukrainians claim ownership of chicken Kiev, something that found new attention when George H.W. Bush gave his so-called Chicken Kiev speech in 1991. The talk was written by future Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice.
Let me pause here, man. That's kind of crazy that Ukrainian and Russians, they fight about a dish. Like, they fight about who made that dish. It's amazing, man. But it really looks hot, like the food. It really looks good. It really looks beautiful the way they made it. Of course, they probably didn't make it like you see there, but, you know, I'm probably sure they have to do whatever they can to survive, so they have to put the food that they have. But really creative. Wow, amazing. Let's go.
And delivered from Kiev, which was part of the Soviet Union at the time. Long story short, it seemed to indicate Bush and the United States did not support Ukrainian independence as the breakup of the Soviet Union loomed, a position that wasn't terribly popular with Ukrainians or Bush's conservative allies back in America.
Borscht.
Perhaps the most identifiable Russian meal, borscht, was generally made up of broth, beets, and cabbage, with countless other additives. These included, but were not limited to, things like potatoes, beans, eggs, vegetables, and cream.
Wow.
The dish was then served chilled or piping hot, depending on the season and preference of whoever was eating.
Of course, nice.
Borscht also took on regional
That looks good.
In some regions, like Romania, fruit was often added, and seasonal availability of foods also dictated.
Nice. That actually looks good, man.
As a meal consumed by
delicious.
poor Russians long before the rise of the Soviet Union, borscht was touted as a healthy, relatively easy, and delicious meal by military men, Soviet premiers, and cosmonauts alike.
Nice.
Borscht even appears in historical events, like the mutiny on the battleship Potemkin, and in literary works like The Master and Margarita by Mikhail Bulgakov. During the Cold War, recipes for borscht remained well guarded. After all, one can't have their recipes for dinner falling into enemy hands.
That's true, man. That's not
When
good.
it was finally released by the CIA, a traditional borscht recipe from 1948 revealed how beets, fat, bouillon, Tomato paste and vinegar were combined in a closed pot before adding flour, laurel leaves, and seasoning.
Wow.
With cabbage and potatoes incorporated into the mix, borscht was served after subsequent stewing.
It looks good.
It could also include
It looks
sauerkraut,
delicious.
beet leaves, and millet. It really just depended on what a cook had on hand.
Yeah, exactly. It looks good, man. Like seriously. Vinaigrette.
Drawing from both the French vinaigrette tradition and the Russian practice of finely chopping vegetables, vinaigrette was a term applied to, well, just that. Vegetables chopped up and covered in an oil-based dressing.
Nice.
Some featured meat,
Delicious.
but during the Soviet era, it was more common to have cabbage, beets, and
Yeah.
covered in
Meat was
sunflower
very,
oil.
like, yeah.
To make them soft
Looks
and
serious.
tender, the vegetable ingredients were boiled prior to being chopped up.
Ah.
Vinaigrette was then typically served as an evening meal, presented alongside meat, bread, and soup.
I doubt it looked like that, but yeah. Steak and onions, really?
In the Soviet Union, meat was a luxury. Thus, the best cuts of beef did not appear on average dinner tables.
True.
Restaurants also struggled to provide quality meat options. So in order to make cheaper cuts palatable, many coated meat in breadcrumbs, cooked it for long periods of time, or supplemented it with more common items like
Onions, yeah.
That said, many state-owned restaurants did their best to offer good cuts of meat, punishing managers and food distributors who misrepresented or cheated customers. They took this very seriously. In fact, one Polish meat distributor, Stanisław Wawrecki, was literally killed for meat distribution fraud in
What?
1965.
That's crazy.
Steak in the Soviet Union was different than in the United States. When Duke Ellington visited the Soviet Union while on tour during the early 1970s, he demanded steaks, which were a staple of his diet alongside Coca-Cola, sugar, and limes. Ellington was told by the State Department that steak would not taste like steak in the United States and couldn't guarantee he'd be satisfied with food in the Soviet Union. Ellington was ultimately unable to eat Russian steaks, and when U.S. state officials later heard Ellington was losing weight while on tour, they had a dozen T-bone steaks flown to Minsk for the musician. Why the U.S. State Department was so concerned about Ellington's diet is anybody's guess.
It's weird. Very weird. Rasolini.
Soups were common features on Russian tables, especially since they were made of whatever was on hand.
Exactly.
One such soup was rasolnik. It may
rasolnik.
have once been called kalia.
Kalia.
At one point in history. It was a thicker stew-like meal that included caviar, chicken, and even
Caviar.
kidneys.
Whoa.
However,
Kidneys.
modern rasolnik, which is still popular in Ukraine and Belarus, among other places, is made of beef, barley, and pickles.
Nice. Okay, that man, I wish. Let me pause here. That actually sounds very good. Like it sounds delicious. Like beef, something, and the pickles. It sounds delicious. Like a delicious, easy soup to make. You know, Russian food is very like not poor food, but it's very creative food. Like it's very whatever you have by hand, just make it. It's Russia. Like you know what I mean? Like it's very beautiful to see that these guys and girls they actually did this. They were so creative and chefs all around the world cook it now. Like it's amazing, man. It's really beautiful. Let's go. Blini and caviar.
Was readily available before 1917. But after revolution struck and austerity set in, it quickly became one of the items only the elite could get their hands on. Caviar was often eaten on a pancake, or blini, made of flour, buckwheat, eggs, milk, and water. That being said, blinis weren't always eaten with caviar. They could also be topped with jelly or butter.
Ah, hey, jelly.
Smoked or salted is often commonly eaten on blinis.
Nice, they
The
look
more
good.
luxurious your toppings, the smaller the cake. The caviar in Soviet Russia was most commonly of the black variety, usually from sturgeon, and over time it became permanently associated with luxury and wealth, especially in locations outside of the Soviet Union. In 1980, for example, a caviar smuggling ring was investigated after several cans of the foodstuffs were sent out of the Soviet Union labeled as herring. The suspects were allegedly even found with gold, silver, and jewels unimaginable in the Soviet Union after selling the caviar in Europe.
Good business. Mayonnaise. Really?
Mayonnaise was super popular in the Soviet Union because it was readily available and blended with pretty much everything, including meat and potatoes in the dish salat olivia. Mayonnaise was relatively easy to make, politically endorsed, and had longevity on shelves. These qualities made it an ideal and incredibly useful kitchen staple. When cooks were left with an array of ingredients, mayonnaise was used to fuse it all together.
Nice, man. It tastes good.
The salat olivia, mayonnaise was found in a dish called herring under a fur coat, which we assume tastes better than it sounds. The meal included pickled, or sometimes salted, herring topped with onions, beets, carrots, and other vegetables.
I didn't think they made it like that,
Squeezed in
but
between layers.
I understand what he's trying to
That's
do.
not all they did with mayonnaise. It was also used in soup, in cake, and on liver, attesting to the egg product's versatility.
Okay. Mayonnaise can be used to everything, I swear, man. Okruska.
Okroshka was a cold soup made from a mix
Oh,
of
that looks good.
vegetables and kvass.
Wow.
Okroshka
Kvass.
usually also included radishes and cucumbers and was cooked for such long periods of time that it was difficult to tell the quality of ingredients. When food was scarce, okroshka usually included whatever could be found. Instead of quality meat, scraps were thrown in, but by the end of the 1950s, sausage and frankfurters were used.
Nice.
In particularly trying times, okroshka lacked meat of any kind. Okroshka was served cold, and over time, cooks began to substitute kvass with kefir. In addition to these two versions of okroshka, the cold soup may have even included vodka. When in
Wait.
Russia,
True. Fried eggs with jam. Really?
during
Wow.
World War II, eggs were not a common
I mean, they love
commodity
jam
the
in Russia,
Soviet
but
Union,
damn.
and the population had to settle for powdered eggs instead. This lasted through the mid-1950s when eggs began to re-emerge in the market. But to try to sell people on the powdered variety, Soviet propaganda smeared real eggs to such an extent that people were hesitant to eat them.
Really?
Eventually, a campaign to repair the healthy, desirable status
Eggs
of
are
the egg in
good.
Soviet Russia
Stop.
succeeded.
Why would you
People
hate
began
on
to eat
eggs,
again.
man? Come
Eggs
on.
were eaten in numerous forms and included in all kinds of dishes. Eggs were commonly consumed with meat, vegetables, and fruit,
Nice.
pickled and jammed options.
That's amazing, man. The food really looks good. Sucking pig with
Buckwheat
what?
was a common feature in Soviet
buckwheat,
cuisine,
okay.
appearing in everything from blinis to stuffing. It could be mixed with milk, eggs, cheese, or fruit as a porridge,
Really?
or with vegetables and other grains for a more savory dish. However, when Russian Premier Nikita Khrushchev was presented with a suckling pig stuffed with buckwheat on an official visit to Bulgaria in 1962, he was not pleased. Why not? Well, suckling pig was a delicacy and one that sent a clear message of celebration and excess. The presentation of such a lavish display angered Khrushchev and prompted him to chide the Russian ambassador. Do you think communism has already arrived? Who gave the order for this? The ambassador, who we assumed wanted to disappear, explained that extra funds
We
had been
get it.
allocated for Khrushchev's visit, but it was not
We got a
fully
pig
fair.
budget. Really,
Despite
bro?
his initial anger, Khrushchev reportedly ate the meal.
Ah, come on, bro. You gotta eat aspic.
Aspics, or meat jellies,
Meat
were
jelly.
made from boiling meat stock, cooling it, and mixing in ingredients such as roasted meat and fish. Also known as koledjets and galantin, aspic was served cold at celebratory feasts and holiday meals. The fundamental ingredients remained consistent, with meat products serving at its base, but the quality of that material varied. According to accounts from Leningrad in 1941 and 1942, aspic was made from leather belts and wood glue. Products also derived from animal byproducts. According
No!
to Anna Astroumova Lebedeva's diary entry from January 1st, 1942, they ate wood glue, but the aspic was not so disgusting if you added cinnamon or a few bay leaves. And if you think that sounds horrible, hold on to your hat.
That's horrible.
Because there were even reports that human remains were used to make aspic.
Yikes.
One Soviet officer who deserted in 1942 told German radio Leningrad was on its last legs, adding, "Putrefied corpses are now its main source of food. The remaining
Yikes.
inhabitants eat meat
Bro,
aspic
that's
made out
messed
of
up.
glue and human flesh." Vajtravai. So what do you think? Which of these Soviet foods sounds most delicious
Well,
to
I
you?
mean,
Let us know.
let
in
me
the
pause here. You have to think about Leningrad. Leningrad was surrounded. They couldn't get food in. They couldn't get supplies in. And you are very desperate when you are in that much heat of a battle. Like, you are very desperate for food, and people, they were starving and everything. This is not news. We reacted to a couple of videos of it. And, of course, you're going to use human flesh. It's in your survival. You're going to do it no matter what you want it or not. You're going to eat it. Trust me. Because that's just how your survival is. It will adapt to the situation that it is in, and you can eat everything. Humans are just like chickens, if you know what I mean. Never tried it, but, you know, you never know. You never know. I tried a scorpion. That was not bad. Like, I thought it was much be better, but it's not. So, yeah, but there's a lot of crazy Russian dishes. I really do appreciate this video so much. There's a lot to learn about this, how creative Russian people they are in a survival situation. I really do. Love it a lot, man. It's really amazing that these guys and girls, they actually could make these dishes out of nothing. They didn't have nothing, so you just have to put it together. I think it's amazing, man. I think it's a beautiful sign of survival and how strong you are instead of just giving up and don't care. Man, I gotta try these dishes sometimes, man. They sound good, especially the frozen one. How do you eat that? Like, must be no taste in it, like crazy, man. But yeah, it was poor man food, but it's still being used by highly chefs, and they make their own design of this, but it still comes from Mother Russia, of course. It's a beautiful thing, man. I really did enjoy this video so much. If you enjoyed it too, please leave a like, subscribe, hit the notification button, and get updated on the newest videos to come to this channel. We're trying to get to 20,000 subscribers, so it would be massively appreciated if you would subscribe, of course. Also, please remember to comment down below what you think about this video. What is some of the food that they have not mentioned? Please let me know, and please tell a story about it. Do you love every single Russian food, or do you hate every single Russian food? Have you ever tried it? Are you from another country and you tried it on a restaurant? How is it? Please let me know in the comments down below. It'll be massively appreciated. Anyway, guys and girls, I love you so much, and I'm going to see you until the next one. Peace.